Hey, what's up, people of the internet? Welcome back to the Real Heroes Show. We got Corey here with you as always, and a new contender has emerged. As the content changes, the experts change as well. I'd like to kick off this video by welcoming my good friend Ben to the show. Ben, how are you this afternoon?
Doing well, Corey. How you doing?
You know what? It's almost Friday. We've almost made it, and that's pretty much where I'm at in my real life. So hey, good stuff. In this video, we are going to talk about Amazon Studios' The Wheel of Time. Ben is a hardcore book nerd for this series, and it is a lifelong dream for him to see it come into a live-action television show. Hence why we're bringing him on. We're going to do a little bit of a preview video today, and also talk about the trailer that came out. And then when the show premieres in November, Ben is also going to be joining me to do recaps on all the episodes. So to get into this a little bit, as I mentioned before, it's a fantasy series. It's going to be airing on Amazon Prime Video. I'm very excited to check it out because I know nothing about it other than I've been told that it's very good. I also think it's a really good water tester for Amazon for their Lord of the Rings show that comes out a year later. It looks like they threw a good deal of money at this, which is pretty excellent. It premieres on November 19th of this year with its first 3 episodes, and then it will have the rest debuting on a weekly basis all the way until December 24th, which sounds like there will be 8 episodes total. And from the sounds of things, it's going to cover most of the first book and parts of the second. So Ben, I'm going to let you just riff on this here. If you want to give me a 30-second elevator pitch on the book series and why it's awesome and why people should be interested in this show if they haven't read the books, this is your moment to shine.
Well, the first and foremost, I want to say if you do want to read the books, get ready for a commitment. This is the books came out, and there's 14 of them. That doesn't even include the prequel book, which came out halfway through the middle. You've got about almost 12,000 pages, or if you want to do the audiobooks, you're looking at about 20 days worth of audio. The books they came out in 1990, and I didn't really get into them until about 2002, 2003-ish. When I was in high school. Everybody else was reading Harry Potter. As a high schooler, starting Harry Potter always seemed like a step back because the first you start off a bit below that high school reading level. So I started The Wheel of Time on the recommendation of some of my other friends, and as you said, it's a pure fantasy series. It's got its own world. It has its own cultures. It draws heavily from our world, but it is much like Game of Thrones in that same vein. It has its own cultures. You're going to see allusions to Camelot, to Greece, to Hellenic Troy, to Sparta, to the Arabic nations of the Middle East, to Asia and Japan, and into all sorts of different time periods. You're going from medieval Europe, all over the place to Louis XIV's France. It's a well-developed world. It's a lived-in world, and it's pretty exciting stuff to see. I remember the day that I got my hands on the last book, and knowing the last book, it took 20 years. It took almost 20, a bit over 20 years for this entire series to come out. And in fact, the original author, Robert Jordan, didn't even make it to the end.
Oh, wow.
He unfortunately got sick, and right around book 12 passed away, and they brought in Brendan Sanderson to finish up the series. So
no kidding.
So it's a long, it took a while to see this being made into a television show is just an absolute dream for me. And it definitely wouldn't have happened if it weren't for things like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. We have to recognize the series that came before it. But this program, the rights were passed around for many years. I remember probably 10 years ago or so, hearing that FX bought the rights, and Robert Jordan's widow is the holder of the estate, and she just never found the right match. She was being very particular about who she allowed to create the live action version of The Wheel of Time. It's going to lend itself really well to a long form series. 14 books. There's a lot of material in there.
Yeah, I wonder, do you think they'll, I know this first season is supposed to be books 1 and 2. Do you think they're going to try to go for like a 2-book per season thing and then do, I guess that would make 7 seasons out of this guy?
Yeah, I think so. There's going to be a lot left on the cutting room floor.
Sure.
Because you can never get as detailed in a television show as you can in a book. But just to see it being made, being created, to see characters that I've had in my head for 20 years since high school come to life is really exciting, and it's pretty cool stuff. To get to your, to let you know what it's about, it's a fantasy series. It follows five young folk from a little town called Emmonsfield, by the name of Rand, Matt, Perrin, Egwin, and Nynaeve. And one of them was identified as someone who can be the chosen one. In this, it's a very classic chosen one story, but it does have the twist in that this chosen one is actually a reincarnation of an earlier character from an earlier age. The Wheel of Time is very much about an age begins and an age ends. It's very cyclical. So this character, by the name of Lucerne, is actually is known in his age as the Dragon, and the Dragon is the one who takes the fight to the big bad, which is not so imaginatively named the Dark One. So it's a fight between the Creator and the Light, and the Dark One and the forces of evil. And Lucerne, the Dragon, takes it upon himself to trap the Creator. He gathers up all the best warriors and everybody and the most intelligent people of his age, and he goes to trap the Dark One, and he is unable to do it because there are people who are loyal to the Dark One. And in his trying to trap the Dark One gets to attack back, and he does one thing, and the Dark is half of what's called the true source, or the source of all the magic in this world. They call it the one power, and it's actually split into 2 different halves. So you have the female half, which is Sadir, and you have the male half called Sadim, and they are supposed to work together in harmony. Think of it sort of a bit like yin and yang. A woman can link with other women and basically control the magic together, but they can only go so far before they have to introduce a male. They're called channelers, a male channeler into the circle. But men cannot link with one another. They have to have a woman there in order to be able to link. So it's a lot of intermeshing, and it's a lot of cooperation. So the Dark One taints the male half of the true source, and now any male channelers going forward are doomed to go insane from this dark. They refer to it as like an oil slick on top of it, and it corrupts their time, and they go insane. But this dragon, whomever they may be, is going to be the one who takes the fight to the Dark One at the last battle.
And this is that chosen one that you mentioned at the beginning of all that. Okay.
They're known as the Dragon Reborn.
So it has, from the sounds of things, it's got some parallels to a lot of the other big fantasy sci-fi type stuff, things that we cover on this channel quite a bit. It sounds like there's a force of sorts, if you want to kind of compare it to Star Wars, but it's got some intricacies and some, it's not like there's one force as there is known in Star Wars. It seems like there's multiple different parts to it, and depending on who you are, the powers that you can possess and the things that you can do are different or limited unless you start working with somebody else. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
It's interesting because, as I mentioned, the true source, the force, the one power, not only being split, but it also means that different channelers are going to be stronger in different things. Generally, it's made up of 5 different elements. So you have your basics: wind, water, fire, earth, and the last one is spirit. Women tend to be stronger in wind and water. Men tend to be stronger in fire and earth. They're equally strong in spirit. However, you can have individual channelers who are more powerful than others in general in different things. You can have a woman who is uncommonly strong in Earth, for example. So it's a lived-in world. It's really been thought. So it's more than just you can use the Force, you cannot use the Force.
Right. Sure.
It's varying levels.
Is there a way, like, so in Star Wars, you have Force users that they're naturally attuned to the Force because of how they're born or skills they possess that are genetic or what have you. Is this magic something that these people are born with, or is it something that can be taught to them by the right folks?
So the answer is actually yes. There are some people who are born with what they call the spark, and they're going to be able to use this power whether they want to or not. It will happen somewhere in their lifetime. Generally, these individuals, if they don't realize what they're doing, they die at a young age because there are feedbacks that need to be taught to know, so they know how to handle it. There are others that can be taught in order to access it, and then there's obviously a whole large population that can't, sense it at all. And that means that just because there's a group of women, these women are known as Aes Sedai, they reside in a white tower, which you do see.
Yeah, we saw that in the trailer, right?
In the trailer.
Yep.
And this means that people don't exactly trust them because trust is something they can't see. They don't trust, these women who sit in their tower and make proclamations, and they say they're here to save the world, but are they really? It's channelers who broke the world the first time.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of like King's Landing in Game of Thrones, where there are a bunch of, poor folk living on the streets, basically at the bottom of the hill, and then you have big castle on top where all the the kings and queens and higher ups live, and they all say they're doing the best thing for this world, but it's obvious that there's a lot of distrust and everything going on there. So that's
absolutely
cool. So when it comes to the show itself, one thing that I love is Rosamund Pike is the lead of the show, which we all know her from. She was great in Gone Girl. She's done a bunch of other films. She was recently in I Care a Lot on Netflix that she won a Golden Globe for. So we all know that she's a terrific actor. But the rest of the cast is all relative unknowns, which to me, I think is perfect, because when you're doing a show like this and you're introducing characters that have been around for 30 years or so, from the first book, right? A lot of people will have a preconceived notion in their brain of what that character is supposed to look and sound like and be like. And if Brad Pitt showed up and was one of those characters, I feel like it would take a lot of people out of that. Like, when you first saw Star Wars, you didn't know, you might have known Harrison Ford, but you didn't know Mark Hamill, you didn't know Carrie Fisher, you didn't know a lot of the cast that were in there, and that allowed you to connect with those characters on a deeper level. So I think it's really smart on Amazon's behalf to get one big name, because that's like your hook that kind of draws your fans in, or people that may not have watched the show if it weren't for having a celebrity in there, and then the rest, it's like a clean slate, and you can connect with those characters and not have a face that you see before seeing it and be like, oh, I know that guy because he was in so-and-so,
Absolutely. You throw a Timothée Chalamet in there and suddenly that they're going to be the Dragon Reborn,
right?
Name actor. It's like, well, you kind of spoiled it. At this point, we don't know who it's going to be. It could equally be any of these young folk. And so I think that's actually, as you mentioned, a real strength of the show is you have Rosamund Pike in there. She's going to be fantastic as Moiraine, an Aes Sedai who realized early on that the dragon had been reborn. She spent her whole life trying to figure out where this dragon reborn was living, and obviously narrowed it down to these 5 individuals. And so it's her goal to make sure that the dragon doesn't fall into the Dark One's hands.
Right.
The dragon will be there, and not just at the last battle, but trained for the last battle and be able to save humanity.
Wow. Okay. That's a fun premise. And now, when you speak about that, is that stuff that you think we're going to see a lot of play out in this first season, or do you think that's in seasons to come?
No, it's absolutely going to happen in this first season.
Okay,
We're going to learn
good.
a lot about our five Edmund Fielders. We're really going to learn a lot about them.
Cool.
And the good news is, if you come to love one of them and they're not the main lead, they all have these incredibly diverse backstories and incredibly deep storylines going forward. So don't fret. You know, really enjoy them, because they're all going to end up doing something, and it's definitely an ensemble piece.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was
The
my
book
next question.
The book jumps from character point of view to character point of view very often, so you're going to see a lot of interwoven stories.
And when you say that, are these characters all in different places when they start, and then they get brought together, like by the end of what we imagine will be this first season?
It's they're actually all going to be in the same village to start off.
Really?
In
Okay,
fact,
cool.
That
So
village is the opening scene of the trailer, when you see young Egwin walking into the Wine Spring Inn, and you see Perrin and Matt and Rand sitting at a table, having a drink. That's right there in Edmund's Field.
okay, cool.
And that's where we meet our five mains, and where Moraine runs into them.
So it won't be like Nick Fury assembling the Avengers over 3 or 4 seasons of TV, and then they finally come together later on.
No, these have all grown up. These characters have all grown up together. They all know each other, from a very young age, and expect to live out their days together in this small village in the greater area of the Two Rivers, which is
nice.
In a little part of a country that most people forget. In fact, in the books, the Queen says she often forgets that's part of her own domain.
Interesting. I kind of like that approach to it, though, because you're starting the show with relationships developed already. You don't have to, you don't have to really do the whole origin story thing. You can kind of just dive right into an already lived in world and just kind of go with it from there. So that's exciting. I know that season 2 has already started filming. So Amazon must have some pretty solid confidence in the work they did on season 1 to give it a second season already, which is fantastic. I couldn't find the budget for each episode, but judging off of what was shown in the trailer, it looks like it's going to be a relatively high production value. They didn't seem to skimp on visual effects or costumes or set pieces or anything like that. So that's really exciting. And I can imagine for you, as somebody who's had to visualize this in your mind for the last 20 years, to actually see it realized and be, to a degree real, must be like a total trip.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got goosebumps watching the trailer, and that's no joke. I mean, I had to watch it 3 or 4 times in a row. I watched it on my phone, and then I watched it on my computer, and then I ran into the living room and I put it on the flat screen and I watched it twice more. And so, yeah, it's a real dream come true, for the book readers, because we all, the time when I was reading these books was high school, college, and even a little bit post-college, and we're all starting to figure out what's going on. And you hit some road bumps here and there, and that's what got me through the tough times.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
A number of other book series gets through other people through their tough times. So
right, so because everybody else got to see
adventure.
Harry Potter get made, everybody got to see Game of Thrones get made, and all those. Game of Thrones, George hasn't finished those damn books yet, but
thankfully we have the end of this one already set.
Yeah, that's certainly a good thing, where even if it doesn't end up stretching out to be 7 seasons or so, they can follow it to a degree and have an end game in mind. They know exactly where the story is going to end, which is great. Last question before we wrap this thing up. As a book reader, going into seeing it be brought to life, is there anything that worries you?
I mean, to be worried at first is I mean, it's something that I think every book reader was. And after seeing the trailer, it really alleviated all of my worries. I think they found the right people to do it, to treat the material with respect, and to really do things properly. Is everybody on the internet going to be happy with it? Absolutely not. We
Never.
all know this. We've chatted offline about the discourse about the casting or
yeah,
how
don't go to
things
Reddit
like that. Don't go to Reddit. I'm sure there's plenty of great Wheel of Time Redditors, but there were some comments on there as I was just curious, and some comments that certainly surprised me.
Right.
So please do not send us any hate mail, good people at Wheel of Time Reddit. But you know, there's always going to be discourse. There's always going to be people unhappy with this or that, or that's not how I imagined channeling to look like, or
Sure.
the White Tower is too short, or ridiculous things like that. But I think if it's treated with the respect that it seems to be, there's no way that I'm going to come away from this screaming that Amazon ruined.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like people say that kind of stuff all the time, like, oh, well, such and such movie ruined this franchise, or this season ruined this, or like the books are still there. You know, if you're a book reader, those books aren't changing just because a TV show came out. The enjoyment you have from them is never going to go away. And if you don't like the TV show, you don't have to watch it. That's the miracle of being a human being and being able to make your own choices. So I'm personally excited for it. I'm excited for us to be able to recap and review it, just because of the fact that I am completely new to this. I haven't read a single page of this, and all I know about this series is what you have told me, which is not that much more than what you've said in this video today. And then you're a very devoted book reader, so I think we'll have two very different perspectives on it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And you know, we're all stuck at home for the most part, not doing a whole heck of a lot, so to be gifted with, you know, one of the most successful book franchises of all time getting turned into a TV show, and we get 8 episodes of it, then hell yeah, let's do it. Let's get after it. So you guys can expect, I think, like I said, the first 3 episodes are coming out on November 19th. We'll probably do one big video for those first 3, and then we'll do some weekly recaps after that for the remaining 5 episodes. So stay tuned for that. We will be here in November to take care of that. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you read these books? Are you excited for this show? Or you go into it blind like I am? Drop us a comment below and let us know. I will respond to every single comment that comes through. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so absolutely for free. All you have to do is like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on those notifications, and share the video with your friends. We will be back this weekend. Nick and I are going to review James Wan's *Malignant*, which is going to be out on HBO Max and in theaters. We'll have a Ted Lasso review, DC Titans after that, and then episode 6 of Marvel's What If on Wednesday. So stay tuned for so much more, including all of those things, and we'll see you guys in the next video.